Can you still make money with Amazon KDP? Or has the whole thing been ruined by AI books, low content journals, and thousands of people uploading the same Canva template with a slightly different title? A few years ago, Amazon KDP was everywhere and people were making tons and tons of money. People were making videos saying you could upload notebooks, journals, planners, kids books, recipe books, and supposedly turn them into passive income machines. Taking a look at this today, things are a little bit different. So let's work out, is Amazon KDP still a real opportunity? Or is it just another online business model that worked years ago, got saturated, and is now mostly being used to sell courses? So first, what actually is Amazon KDP? Well, KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. It's Amazon's self-publishing platform that lets you publish books directly onto Amazon without needing a traditional publisher. You can publish Kindle ebooks, paperback books, and hardcovers. And the reason this became so popular is because Amazon handles a lot of the hard stuff. You don't need to print hundreds of copies up front, and you don't need to post books yourself. For paperback and hardcover books, Amazon can print when someone orders it, almost like print on demand. So from the outside, that sounds like a pretty good deal. You create the book once, upload it to Amazon, and then every time someone buys it, you earn royalties. And this is why a lot of people describe KDP as passive income. But that description is also where people start getting misled. Because yes, the fulfillment side can be passive, but the research, product creation, positioning, cover design, listing optimization, reviews, and marketing are absolutely not passive. And that is the part that people skip over. The old KDP strategy was very simple. You find a niche, you create a basic low content book, you upload it, and you repeat as many times as possible. And that's where you saw things like notebooks, journals, gratitude planners, logbooks, password books, sketchbooks, and basic trackers. And to be fair, that did work for a lot of people. If you got in early enough, had decent keyword research, made better covers or more interesting covers than everybody else, and picked a niche with demand, then you could generate a lot of sales. But the problem is that low content publishing became one of the most copied online business models on the internet. And once people realized you could make a notebook in Canva in 20 minutes and upload it to Amazon, funnily enough, everyone started doing it. And when everyone uploads the same product, the opportunity changes. So you're no longer competing against a few other books, you're competing against thousands of books that all kind of look the same. So the old strategy of just upload 100 journals and wait is not something I'd rely on right now. However, that does not mean that KDP is dead. It just means lazy KDP is dead. So what has changed? Well, there are three big things that have changed, and the first is competition. Amazon KDP is no longer some hidden opportunity. Everyone knows about it. And that means basic niches are heavily saturated. If you publish a plain gratitude journal, a basic notebook, or a generic how to make money online ebook, there's no real reason for someone to choose yours over the thousands of others already on Amazon. The second change is AI. AI has made it way easier to create books a lot more quickly. But this has also created a flood of low quality books. So people kind of get the wrong idea. AI can definitely help you create a better book, but AI can also help you create a terrible book much faster, and that's the big difference. Amazon requires you to disclose AI-generated content when you publish through KDP, including AI-generated text, images or translations. AI-assisted content, such as using AI to brainstorm, edit or refine your own work, is treated differently by Amazon. So the game is not, can I use AI to spam books? It should be, can I use AI to assist and help me create a book that's genuinely useful? And the third change is profitability. With print books, you have to think carefully about pricing, page count, trim size, ink type, and printing costs. Amazon has a printing cost and royalty calculator specifically for paperback and hardcover books because your royalty depends heavily on those numbers. So if you price a book too low, or you create a book with lots of colour pages, your margins can become tiny very quickly. So if you're thinking, I'll sell a book for $7.99, after printing costs, Amazon's cut, and any advertising or marketing costs, the actual profit can be a lot smaller than expected. So what actually works now? In my opinion, the KDP books that have potential fall into a few different categories. The first is genuinely useful books. And these are books that solve a specific problem for a specific person. So not fitness journal, but more like 12-week strength training logbook for men over 40 returning to the gym. It's much more specific and much more geared towards a particular audience. So for example, don't do budget planner, do simple weekly budget planner for UK students living on a maintenance loan. The difference is how specific you are. And generic books are most likely going to get ignored, but specific books, they have a chance, especially if it's paired with content or decent marketing to that audience. The second category is books connected to expertise. And this is where KDP gets a bit more interesting, because if you already know something, KDP can become a way to package that knowledge. For example, if you're a designer, you could create a short guide on branding basics for small businesses. If you're a teacher, you could create revision resources. If you're into fitness, you could create training plans or trackers. And that's much stronger than trying to compete with random journals, because you're building around your actual knowledge. So if you have expertise in anything, think about that and think about how you could package it. The third category is puzzle books or activity books. And these can still work, but they're not as easy as people make out. So a good puzzle book needs proper formatting, quality control, good difficulty progression, and a clear target audience. You can't just generate 100 word searches and expect money to appear. Again, this links back to finding an audience for it. And the fourth category is books that are supported by an audience. And this is quite a big opportunity, because if you already have a TikTok account, a YouTube channel, newsletter, blog, or social media audience, then suddenly KDP becomes a lot more powerful, because now you're not just hoping Amazon search does all the work. You can drive your own traffic, especially if your book is relevant to your audience. So when you're trying KDP that way, and not just a upload and pray business, but as part of a much wider content business, then that's a good way of making it work. But you do have to build an audience to do that. Now let's talk about passive income, because KDP is often sold as passive income, and technically there is some truth to that. Because if you create a book, upload it, and it keeps selling, you can earn money without manually fulfilling every order. But this doesn't mean the business is passive, because you still have to do all the work up front in the first place. You need to research the market, you need to understand the customer, you need to, of course, create the book, you need to design the cover, you need to optimize the listing, and you may need reviews, or you might need to use Amazon ads. And this also means you might publish something that makes no money at all, which can be a bit of a hard-hitting reality. A lot of people don't necessarily make money with KDP because they treat it like an easy passive income idea. And they're not trying to create a good product, they're just trying to find a shortcut. And more often than not, that's where these online business models fall apart, because everyone tries the lazy way. So how does AI affect everything? Now, obviously you can use something like ChatGPT or Claude to assist you with creating books for KDP. But there's a bit of a huge warning with this, and that's because using AI does not remove your responsibility. You still need to make sure the book is accurate, legal, useful, and not misleading. And that's kind of where the AI KDP books go wrong. There can be glaring mistakes in there that no one's checked. And that's a bit of a problem when you've got lots of books basically being sold that just don't have real or true information in it that hasn't been checked by a human. So if you are going to use AI, make sure you fact check it, make sure you edit the book properly, and you just improve it yourself. So realistically, the better way to use AI is to use it as an assistant. So use it to brainstorm niche ideas, structure chapters, maybe improve clarity or help with formatting, but just don't use it as a replacement for your own judgment, because AI can make the production process faster, but it doesn't automatically make the product valuable. Now, if you do want to get started, how would you start? Well, as mentioned before, find that very specific audience. So this could be new freelancers or first-time gym goers, small business owners, students, new parents, people trying to budget, and then you want to look for problems that audience already has. What are they searching for? What are they buying? What are they complaining about in reviews? And what books already exist and what books are missing? This review research is really important, because you can find books that are within your niche and read the negative reviews, and it will give you an insight into what people actually want. If people are calling a particular book too basic, or the layout is confusing, or it doesn't apply to beginners, well, that tells you exactly how to make something better or better for that audience. And then just make sure that the cover looks good and it's clear what the book is and who it's for. And don't rely fully on Amazon. Remember, you've got to market the product in some ways, and that could be on social media, could be through blogs, could be through newsletters. But if you just upload it, unlikely that people will just find it by themselves. Now, how much can you make? So this is the big question, how much can you actually make? And it completely varies, so it's a hard question to answer. But essentially, some people will be making thousands per month from KDP, but then other people will be making a few £100s per month. Some people make nothing. All three are very real outcomes. It essentially depends on the niche, the quality of the book, the audience you're going after, and then of course the competition, the pricing, and what the profit margins are. For most beginners, I wouldn't go into KDP expecting quick money, but I'd see it as a long-term asset building business. And that's because your first book might make very little, but it teaches you how the platform works. Your second book might be better, and you'll have more experience this time around. And eventually, you might have a small catalogue of useful books that each bring in some sales. And then you can start to build up your income. And sky's the limit at that point. But if you want to look at some pros of Amazon KDP, well, it has a very low startup cost. You can start without ordering inventory. Amazon's reach is pretty huge because you're publishing on one of the biggest online marketplaces in the world. And it's a good beginner-friendly way to learn product creation. And that's because you can learn research, design, writing, positioning, pricing, and marketing. And finally, the upside can compound. And that's because if you create multiple books that sell consistently, they can build into a small income stream over time, which works very well alongside content. If you've already got a relevant social media audience as well, then it seems a bit of a given that you should go for this. But in terms of the downsides, obviously there's a lot of saturation, which means, more competition. The margins can be low with print books. Quality control can be a bit of an issue, so formatting issues, poor covers, bad editing, and weak interiors can kill your chances. Reviews do matter, so a book with no reviews is harder to sell, and getting those first genuine reviews can take time. And it's not really passive at the start. That's because you have to put in the real work in first. And finally, AI has made the platform noisier. There's more content than ever, which means quality and differentiation matter more than ever. So can you still make money with Amazon KDP? Yes, you can. But I wouldn't treat it as easy passive income. I would treat it as a low-cost product business. The people who are most likely to succeed are not the ones uploading the most books. They're the ones who understand a specific audience, make something useful, and present it better than the competition. If your plan is to upload generic AI books, basic journals, or copied templates, I think you might struggle. But for a small catalogue of high quality books, then I would consider Amazon KDP. But let me know your thoughts on Amazon KDP and leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.